One of the things that is being discussed is the speed limit on some open roads, particularly country roads. Farmers and truck drivers are balking at the idea of a speed limit being lowered to 70k in some areas, saying the government would be the better look at improving roading infrastructure. Well, that's happening in some of the regions, but the roads of national significance having a reduced spend. The International Transport Forum, an intergovernment organisation with 59 member countries, including New Zealand, has suggested a maximum speed limit of 70k an hour on all rural roads which don't have median barriers. And, as most of us will know, that is a hell of a lot of rural roads. Jonathan Mitchell reports.
The Automobile Association recently asked its members about reducing speed limits on New Zealand roads, and spokesperson Mike Noon says it proved to be a sensitive issue.
We did ask them for their views on reducing the open speed limit from 100 kilometres an hour to 90 kilometres an hour, and that came up with an 87% oppose. And we also asked them about reducing the urban area from 50 kilometres an hour to 40 kilometres an hour, and that urban area speed limit came up with an 80% opposition.
He says roads should be assessed on a case-by-case basis because a blanket approach won't work. New Zealand's Road Transport Forum, which represents the commercial road freight industry, says there's about 12,000 kilometres of state highways here, but median barriers are a rare sight. Chief Executive Ken Shirley says the International Transport Forum's recommendations, which also include reducing speed limits on urban roads from 50 kilometres an hour to 30 kilometres an hour, are excessive.
30 kilometres an hour is very slow. I think the frustrations that would go with that would actually create more problems. And equally on an open road, particularly on a good, clear road, 70 kilometres an hour is too slow.
He says the actual problem is getting drivers to stick to the current speed limits. Federated Farmers President Katie Milne says reducing the speed is a step in the wrong direction.
Yeah, I just think it's going to slow down way too much the basics of commerce and people getting around in New Zealand in general, and the frustration level that would go with that, which we already do strike when we strike in places slower tourists. I think it would just actually create havoc versus the desired outcome, which is less accidents.
She says rural roads are being unfairly targeted.
Some rural roads are more dangerous than others, and I think it speaks more to the fact that you should make sure they're well maintained and upkept, especially the gravel roads, so that when people who are not used to them, as in tourists and so on, are out on them, they have a better experience.
The Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern says infrastructure spending is the way to go.
Look, there are certainly areas that we can hone in on where there's enough evidence to suggest it would make a difference, and that's what we should be doing, relying on the evidence that tells us what will make sure that people are safe on our roads.
Ms Ardern says median barriers are just one option to consider, as evidence shows they force drivers to slow down and ultimately make roads safer. Last year, the Transport Agency raised the speed limit on a couple of state highways in the North Island to 110 kilometres per hour, describing them as the safest in the country. But it says the speed limits are just that, and drivers should not see them as a minimum target. For Checkpoint, Jonathan Mitchell.